Okay, let's dive in. We're tackling maybe the biggest question there is, right? Why are we actually here?
Yeah, what's the point of it all? Are we just a cosmic static, or is there something more going on?
It's definitely something humans have wrestled with forever, and it feels, well, uniquely human to even ask.
It really does. We don't just live, we think about living. We wonder why.
Exactly. So today, we're doing a deep dive using these sources you shared. They really look at this from, well, all angles.
They do. The idea isn't to give the final answer, I don't think anyone can, but to explore the search itself.
Right, and the sources kind of map it out for us, yeah, through different lenses.
Precisely. We'll look at it from the scientific angle first,
hmm
then philosophy, then religion and spirituality.
And then finally, the personal side, like finding your own meaning.
Exactly. It's a good roadmap, I think, for such a huge topic.
Because it is this asking why that drives so much, isn't it? Golding things, creating art, philosophies, maybe even that existential dread sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And the sources mention Viktor Frankl that, quote, those who have a why to live can bear almost any how.
Hmm, that hits hard. It shows how powerful that search for meaning really is. It's not just navel-gazing.
Not at all. It shapes lives, cultures, everything.
Okay, so let's follow the sources. Perspective one, science. What does science tell us about purpose or the lack of it?
Well, the scientific story, as laid out here, starts way back. The Big Bang, about 13.8 billion years ago, creating, the basics, matter,
The
energy.
primordial soup, basically.
Pretty much. And over billions of years, stars cooked up heavier elements, carbon, oxygen, all that essential stuff.
And then they exploded, scattering it all.
Yeah, seeding the cosmos. And then on this one particular planet, Earth, conditions were just right.
The Goldilocks zone.
Right. And somehow, life sparked. Then came evolution, natural selection, a really long, messy process leading to, well, us, creatures who can actually think about all this history.
So science is fantastic at explaining how we got here, the mechanic.
Exactly. It maps the process incredibly well. But the sources emphasize that from a purely scientific view, there's no inherent why. The universe just is, no built-in purpose for humanity.
I saw that bit in the sources about the illusion of purpose. The idea that maybe needing meaning is just an evolutionary quirk, something that helped us survive.
That's one interpretation presented. Yeah, maybe it helped cooperation or resilience. But then the science part in the sources takes this really interesting turn.
With Sagan and Green.
Right. They float this idea that what if our consciousness, is the universe becoming self-aware?
Wow, that quote, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." That's pretty mind-bending.
It is. The idea that the same stuff forged in stars billions of years ago is now looking back, trying to understand it all.
It really makes you pause. Is that just like a massive coincidence, a random byproduct?
Or does the very fact that we can ask these questions, even within science, hint at something deeper? The sources leave that open for reflection.
Okay, so if conventional science doesn't hand us a purpose on a plate, the sources then point towards philosophy. How do philosophers tackle this?
Philosophers jump right into that potential meaninglessness. The sources highlight existentialism, Sartre, Camus, folks like that.
Their basic idea being, life has no built-in meaning. The universe doesn't care.
Pretty much, yeah. Indifferent or even absurd. But that doesn't mean despair, necessarily.
Right. Camus has mentioned his idea of revolting against the absurd.
Yeah.
By what? Creating your own meaning?
Exactly. You create it through your choices, your actions, your passions. It's daunting because the responsibility is all on you.
But also incredibly freeing. You're not locked into some preordained path.
Precisely. You define your own purpose. Then you've got the Stoics offering a different approach.
Like Marcus Aurelius. What's their angle?
For them, purpose comes from living in line with reason and virtue. You can't control what happens to you, but you control your response.
So focus on courage, wisdom, justice, self-control, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Finding meaning in how you face things internally. The sources also briefly touch on nihilism, linked often with Nietzsche.
The idea that without God or absolute morals, everything might feel empty.
Kind of, but the sources note that even Nietzsche pushed past that. He challenged people to overcome that potential void and create their own values, to become who you are.
So across these different philosophical views, the common thread seems to be, well, it's on us. We're the meaning makers, whether the universe provides it or not.
That's a great way to put it. Philosophy invites us to be active creators, not just passive receivers of meaning.
Okay, so from the mind and the cosmos, let's shift to another huge area the sources cover, religion and spirituality. This is where purpose is often front and center.
Absolutely. For billions, existence isn't random. It's intentional, guided by something divine. In the Abrahamic faiths, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, the sources point to creation narratives.
Like, let us make man in our image, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Or the Quran saying humans were created to worship God. The purpose is often about relationship with the divine.
Knowing God, loving God, reflecting divine qualities like compassion, justice.
Yes, living in a way that honors that relationship. Then you look at Eastern traditions like Hinduism and Buddhism.
Where concepts like karma and dharma come in.
Right. The sources explain purpose there is tied to these ideas and to liberation, moksha, or nirvana. Life's a cycle.
Birth, death, rebirth.
For the soul to evolve, basically, to realize its true divine nature, shed the ego, and awaken.
And the sources also mention indigenous beliefs, which often see things differently again.
Yeah, often less individualistic. Humans are part of a web, nature, ancestors, community. Purpose is relational, about harmony, keeping balance within that whole system.
It's amazing how diverse the specifics are. But as the sources suggest, there's a commonality, isn't there? This sense that we're here for more than just eating and sleeping.
Definitely. Across the board, there's this pull towards something higher, spiritual growth, love, expanded consciousness, transcending the purely material or selfish. Call it salvation, enlightenment, unity.
It points beyond just day-to-day survival.
Exactly. The core religious insight, based on these texts, is that life has this deeper, maybe even sacred, meaning rooted in something beyond just the physical world.
All right, we've spanned the universe with science, wrestled with ideas in philosophy, touched the sacred in religion. Now the sources bring it right back home to the personal, to your purpose.
Yeah, this part turns the lens inward. It asks you, the listener, what actually moves you? What gives you chills? What feels deeply important, worth fighting for?
It brings up Maslow, right? His hierarchy of needs.
It does, starting with survival, safety, then belonging, esteem, leading up to self-actualization, like becoming your best self.
But didn't Maslow add something later? Something beyond even that?
He did, and the sources highlight it. Self-transcendence. This is about connecting to something bigger than your own skin.
Like a cause, or spirituality, or just humanity.
Could be any of those. It's that feeling of being part of something larger, contributing beyond just your own needs.
And the sources suggest personal purpose isn't always one big, clear thing. It can be complex.
Yeah, it might be multifaceted. Maybe it's about healing, maybe loving well, raising thoughtful kids, creating something beautiful, turning your own pain into service for others. It evolves.
Or maybe, as one part suggests, it's just about being present, really, here.
That's a powerful point in the material. That simply increasing your presence, your engagement with this moment, can make life feel inherently more meaningful, less chasing, more experiencing.
So the personal perspective is really about an active, ongoing discovery,
Mhm.
finding what makes you feel alive and connected.
I think so. Less about finding the answer, more about living into your own answer.
Now, inevitably, when talking about the purpose of life, the sources bring up death, the end point.
Right. The great equalizer, as they say, it hangs over everything.
And the sources pose that fascinating question. Would life even feel meaningful if it went on forever?
It's a paradox. Like the sunset example, they use its beauty is partly because it ends. Or love, it's precious, partly because it's vulnerable, it can be lost.
So facing our mortality doesn't have to be just depressing. It can actually motivate us.
That's the argument presented. It can spur action, make us clarify our priorities, live more intentionally now.
And this connects to legacy, the idea that we're part of something bigger than just our own lifespan.
Exactly. The sources frame it beautifully. You're a link in this incredible chain stretching back eons. You carry the legacy of ancestors.
And your actions ripple outwards, affecting others, shaping stories, passing on values.
Yeah, so purpose isn't just internal fulfillment. Maybe it's also about that connection, that contribution to the ongoing flow of life, what you give back.
So we've journeyed through science, philosophy, religion, personal meaning, even death and legacy. Drawing on all these sources, where does that leave us? Do we get the answer?
Well, the sources are pretty clear that we probably don't get the capital A answer with complete certainty, at least not in a neat package.
But they do pull together what we do know,
Yep.
right? Based on just being human.
Absolutely. We know we're conscious, we can reflect, we know we can love deeply, we know we have this incredible power to choose our responses to create meaning.
And that ability to transform things, to take suffering or just everyday life and make something beautiful or meaningful out of it.
That feels central. Art, wisdom, connection, that transformative power seems uniquely human and, frankly, amazing.
Whether you see that as divine design or a fluke of evolution, the fact that you, listening, are here, conscious, able to connect,
Yeah.
that itself feels kind of miraculous.
It really does. The
Oh.
sources seem to emphasize the sheer preciousness of conscious existence itself.
And maybe the final takeaway isn't finding one single purpose out there.
Maybe, as the sources provocatively suggest at the end, the purpose is the searching.
The asking, living the question itself.
Yeah, to engage with the question, to live into it, and let life itself kind of unfold the answers through experience.
Not a problem to solve, but a mystery to live.
That captures it really well.
Well, thank you for guiding us through these rich sources on such a profound topic. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
It's been a pleasure. And just to echo the closing thoughts from the material, directed at you, the listener.
You matter. Your experiences, the good and the bad, they matter.
And that very search for meaning, that questioning, that's fundamentally wonderfully human.